Okay, we're live.
Welcome to the Tooele Happy Hour, starring Jared Anderson and David Weiss.
Starring,
Dun dun dun.
stumbling through.
Stumbling. David Weiss and Jared Anderson.
Yeah. So tonight we were supposed to talk with the Utah County Democrat chair, and apparently it was about
Senator Gene Davis did something to someone, and they suspended him. And he is a Democrat.
that I've got to throw mad respect out for the Democrat Party. Of course, was the guy found guilty or?
Oh, no, that's the thing. He's not. I'm trying to dig up some information, and I found a picture of the girl who's putting the accusations out there.
Mm-hmm.
And she's this cute little intern, and
are you going to?
I'm not sure what the accusation is exactly, but he did something. I don't know if he touched her inappropriately or said something inappropriate, and she stood up for herself, and she took it to. I think she took it to Katie, and that's the lady that we're going to have on today.
Well, but good on the Democrats for standing up. I do. Well, they suspended him, so that's not a permanent thing, right? So they'll probably wait to, I don't know what the process is for removing a Utah senator from office is. But,
well, they asked him to step down, and he decided, no, I'm not. So he's fighting back, but he's going through this suspension, and I don't know what's to come of it. And I can imagine the turmoil and stress in the Democratic Party here in Utah because they're outnumbered, like 4-1 in terms of representation in the state.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they just lost somebody.
Maybe not in Utah County, maybe not in Salt Lake County or Weber. Maybe not in Wasatch County, but all other counties, I'm sure they're outnumbered pretty heavily. Yeah, that's a big question. What's going on there? Me personally, I'd like to see due process followed.
But okay, so we're talking about human.
You want to do the sharing real quick too?
Yeah, we're talking about human interaction here. Like a man and a girl are interacting. The guy's trying to figure out if he can get with the girl.
Okay.
And some guys are not as good as this as other guys are. And how girls react to it. How is it? Should we allow the system if there's no physical touching involved? And I'm saying, like, if there's no groping and assault or battery, if there's none of that involved, should there be a legal system just because she doesn't want to be involved with this individual sexually? Like, should you get one pass before you go to jail?
Well, no, let's run with that. Let's say he did an awkward approach, an awkward flyby, and that offended her. Should that be grounds to have him removed from office? Now, if he did something where it's worthy of him being removed from office, I would say that's definitely something that deserves a criminal trial.
All right. So from my perspective, yeah, if there's a non-aggression principle violation, but we have to allow for the interaction of human beings. I mean, he's quite older than this girl, though, so he should know better. But I think he's a guy with no wife. I think his wife passed away. And powerful men often think that they are able to make approaches on younger women. And you want to know what? In some places they are. They are.
I would say in most instances they are.
Because you know, he's thinking, oh, well, maybe she'll love me for my resources or my political power, maybe. But
Well, let's face it, in a lot of cases, women are enticed by power. And that's not a knock on women. I mean, you know, men are enticed by high hills. How dumb is that? Right? So,
no, seriously, a beautiful woman will make a man retarded. And
Yeah.
I dare say the R word. But when you're a single guy trying to mate, you are retarded. And that's why we have to have good friends to pull us back,
the hunter
to help us out in life.
the
and
hunter
give us
says the
guidance.
buck's in the rut.
Yes, that's the way to officially put it.
Huh.
I like it.
Yeah, so I would say if he did something worthy of him being removed from office, it should be something that can be adjudicated by a court of law. Now, if it's and it could be, and I would dare say, if the Democrat Party wants to hold a different standard when it comes to stuff like this, the Democrat Party should be allowed to set their own standards. I don't know if I would say I'm comfortable with the party doing it because, again, first and foremost, it's the Democrat Party, and they should try to keep with democracy, and maybe the party can hold some kind of special whatever so that democracy gets to happen as to whether the people he represents gets to keep him or not. I don't know how that would work. I don't know even if that would be legal, but I would think that they should try to fight for that.
Look, if I will say this, if this guy did inappropriately try to grope or touch this individual, they're going about it the right way.
Yeah, but that's still something that can be adjudicated by a court of law. And then you don't even have to ask him to step down. Although, I mean, there's been people that ran from prison for president and got, I think it was something like 6% of the vote.
Well, look at the situation with Bill Clinton. I mean, he stuck a cigar in the inappropriate locations of an intern, and really nothing too bad happened to him throughout life.
I think he got censured. He did have an impeachment come out of it, but
I mean, if something bad should happen, it should happen to him for that. Because you know that's not his only offense. I mean, if you get caught that blatantly in life doing that activity in his position, I'm sure if you follow the trail of behavior, you're going to find victim after victim after victim.
Very true, but we're digging into the past. And if we're going to dig into the past, I mean, how many presidents back do we got to go? You know? Yeah, Bill Clinton, he leveraged his power. She was a willing participant, although she was still, she was like, 22 at the time or just barely out of college, young. And the thing I feel bad for her is that incident pretty much marred her life for the next 30 years. And just nowadays, as she's a middle-aged woman, has she started coming back into public life.
Yeah, I think they actually went out of their way to destroy her.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And had she not kept that blue dress, they probably would have succeeded.
Now, this individual, this Gene Davis, probably thought he was like Bill Clinton and could get away with this. I'll be honest. I have that feeling inside of me that
I still want to
the intuition.
I still want to wonder what happened. That's why I like to see adjudication. I like to see due process followed, because if we're going to set a standard so low, it wouldn't be hard for, say, a young, pretty Republican Party member to, spend a couple weeks, get a job in the office, and then just make a claim.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. And then, so let's say that the Democrats come up with a strong contender on the state level for governor, for, one of the Senate seats, whatever. And he wins, and and I'm not saying this would happen. This is just a conspiracy theory, if you will. And then the Republicans say, we got to take him out. He's I don't know, whatever. Not that much happens anyway in the state of Utah, but he's making moves. He's going to take away our DABC, and we can't have that.
You know what? I'm if you want to find a picture of the individual making the accusation, she's got plenty of social media and plenty of pictures with Gene Davis. We're entering a world where you can just make an accusation and then end up dragged off to prison. Okay. We are there. We're in at that stage, and we have to be careful with these kind of social issues.
So let's read through this. Lawmaker under investigation by Utah Senate after intern makes sexual harassment allegations. Longtime Utah State Senator Gene Davis has been placed on temporary leave after a former intern alleged in social media posts that he sexually harassed her.
Harassed.
Now, the question is she bringing charges, or is it just something she said on a social media post? That's another question. Longtime Utah Senator Gene Davis is under investigation by the Senate after a social media post from former intern alleged he sexually harassed her during this year's legislative session.
Now, can harassment mean assault and battery?
I don't know. The entire Senate and I take these comments seriously. I wonder if it's both the Republicans and the Democrats that have both asked him, because this might be the Senate asking him to step down. It may not just be the Democrats. You know what I mean? And that might be
well. The Senate is going to do an investigation.
Okay. After reviewing recommendations from the Legislative General Counsel and Human Resource there's a Human Resources Administrator for the Senate.
Imagine
that. Guys. I'm sorry. I wonder if they have a safety guy too. Jesus.
If they did. If they did,
dude,
I'd be on that.
You'd be charged with sexual harassment just because you'd be walking around Viagra filled all day.
Gosh,
I don't
have enough blood to do that.
I've directed an independent investigation to be initiated to evaluate these allegations. Senate President Stuart Adams said in a statement Friday. He added that the Senate condemns and does not tolerate workplace harassment. It has no place in any political, professional, or personal setting.
Now, harassment, if it is not assault and battery, it can be taken from any perspective, point of view, and people can skew what they're receiving from other individuals as harassment, and maybe it wasn't intended that way. And there's so many different variables with this if it was not assault and battery of some sort.
Well, it says here, one-time intern in an Instagram post accused the senator of inappropriate touching during her internship. So that's touching.
No, you shouldn't touch anybody.
Yeah. And when she was later hired on to help with his bid for re-election. Okay, hold on. Davis has served in the Senate since 1999 and previously served in the House since 1987.
He lost his campaign during this year's primary election to challenge Nate Bluin, a renewable energy advocate.
So he would be stepping down early because he already lost the primary, right?
That's what it sounds like.
Okay.
To an energy.
So and this change, not to blur the Democrats' motives here, but this also changes their response, where it's an election year, and if they're going up, he lost his primary already, and if they're going up against a nominally strong Republican, they would ask him to step down so the Democrat Party takes a strong stance against something so they don't lose face fighting for someone who's already gone.
And just so the world knows out there, it's not like we just want to crap talk on Senator Gene Davis.
No.
I did reach out to him twice today, and there was no response. So, we're just doing the best we can with the information that we got.
And that's all down in Utah County. So, yeah. The intern said the Instagram post on Wednesday that the professional lines between her and Davis became blurred while she worked for him this spring, and she did not realize it until months later. He'd put his arm around my waist. He would play with my toes when I sat down on his office, reclining on the couch.
Now here we go. Here's the allegation.
He
And this is where
constantly invade my physical boundaries, the woman said, adding that she said nothing and did not fully acknowledge what was happening to me during this time.
so he's inappropriately touching her, which
Yes.
is a form of battery.
And let's also state that at the time, it didn't offend her.
Well, she didn't maybe understand what angle this guy was taking and how he was trying to approach her. And I can understand
So
that. It's kind of
but
shocking.
here's
at first.
another question. So let's say they're working on his reelection for 18 months. And let's say the first time leads off with him putting his hand around her waist for a picture or photo op.
Mhm. And that's still inappropriate.
And it's inappropriate, but she's okay with it, smiles,
Mhm.
So he thinks, oh, maybe.
Maybe she likes it.
And then the next time it's, whatever else. And then it escalates to the end that he's tickling her feet on the couch.
All right.
So-
now, Jared, just out of curiosity.
That's a slow escalation where it starts out something like he's just doing a photo op and just puts his hand there. you
Yeah,
know?
but tickling a girl's feet on the couch in a professional setting, really? I mean,
Well, okay. If this, and I'm not justifying him, but if this has gone on for 18 months and she's been okay with all the touching, he might start thinking, hey, this might be my budding new wife.
yeah,
Right?
no doubt that's what he was thinking. He's
So,
trying to advance himself further and further every
Yes.
time.
And she is unknowingly possibly accepting it. So that's where I wonder where this goes. I still, and not to disparage the Democrat Party, I still think the Democrat Party knows that they have a senator here that's already out. So this is an easy stand for them to take.
Well, I will say this.
Let's say he had won his primary.
I'm going to say this. If you're a senator out there and you're touching your intern's feet in the office, you're wrong. Unless you're like, if that's your girlfriend, unless.
What if he thought that they were on the path to dating?
Yeah. No,
What if she laughed at all his jokes and put her hand on his chest while she giggled, And I'm not justifying him. I'm just saying I'm not confused now as to why the Democrats are getting rid of him. Even if their motives are completely on the up and up, it's still a smart move. He's already a dead horse. So let him go. Because he's already lost his primary. So if they don't take a strong stance, this is going to be something that whoever's going up against the other guy, the guy who beat him in the primary, will be able to use against him in the general. If they do let him go, it becomes a feather in their cap in the general.
It makes a lot of sense to let him go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Politically. And
So
you get some news articles about it too.
were it 2 or 3 years ago, I promise you they would have probably tried to fight it. They would have backed him a little more.
Yeah, it's just I just have a hard time envisioning watching this play out. I mean, how can you tickle someone's feet and think it's okay in a
Yeah,
professional setting?
I'm not big on touching feet, so how can you tickle someone's feet? Period. But I don't know. I don't know. We don't know exactly what happened or how it played out. It's not like he grabbed her and pushed her up against the wall and shoved his hand up her skirt or in an elevator or any of that.
Yeah, he's definitely making
The
moves,
statement said he put his hand around her waist and he pulled on her toe or whatever when she was laying back on his couch in his office.
And this
Does
this is the creep effect. That
But hold
he's
on, hold
creeping
on.
closer and closer
What
to
about
trying to make
her
his move.
going into his office to lay back on the couch? Was that not her crossing a professional boundary at the same time?
Yes.
So do you see where maybe both of them had some confusing ideas about what was going on?
Well, he should be the more mature. I mean, the guy's been a senator. He's been in the political ring for how long? You should know better. You should. I mean, even I know better, and well, you know me. I'm not an angel, but geez.
I'm just saying, whether I like due process in all circumstances. I like due process. And I understand why the Democrat Party's doing it.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. I'm not saying they're wrong. It's the move I would make.
And I feel bad for both of them in that perspective, because obviously the dude's like probably a lonely widowed man, and this intern's probably completely freaked out by this advancement.
Hey, either way, it is what it is. But yeah,
sexual harassment in the workplace, and you know how many trainings we do with that in the government too. And man, boy, it just does not seem to sink into some people.
I'm not either way. I'm semi uncomfortable with doing any kind of maneuvers before you've had.
Wait. Hold on. Before I could sit back down, he takes his towel and starts wiping down my butt.
Well, we got to go up and read.
Hold on. Wait, there's more. Oh, geez.
Former intern recounted another incident in which he says Davis told her she had dirt on her bottom after taking photos of him outside the campaign. She said she tried to clean it off herself and declined his offer multiple times to wipe it off. Before I could sit back down, he takes his towel and starts wiping down my butt. I was in complete shock. After he was done, he looked me in the eye and asked, "Did that make you feel uncomfortable?"
Why do they have towels in their office? Do you have towels in your office?
No, but
I don't have towels in mine.
My office has hammers and saws and stuff in it.
When she later told the campaign manager she was quitting and told him about the incident, she said he appeared concerned, but gradually started to rationalize Senator Davis' actions, saying he was hyper fixated on getting the dirt off her pants. The campaign manager told her Davis is touchy-feeling. Okay, so...
Now, okay, of course the campaign manager's the campaign manager, that's their career, is to get that person into office. And that was wrong. That should have been nipped in the bud. I still did this happen after the going into his office and laying on his couch. He's not your therapist and you work for him. So would you go into your boss's office and lay back on their couch and kick your feet up?
Oh God, no.
Would you do it if you had on a pencil skirt? Would that change the narrative? Maybe some open-toed shoes.
A pencil skirt?
Yeah. I've just heard it said it's a skirt. I think it has pencils on it. I don't know.
Shit, nobody should lay on my boss's couch after, well, anyway.
But, that's the thing. So it sounds like it was an escalation or an escalation on his part and and allowing it to escalate on hers. And I'm not blaming the victim here. And he should be reprimanded by the party for this, for sure. But I understand why the party wants him out. I understand, because this is a lose situation if the party tries carrying this until the general election. They have to get rid of him.
And how easy can you make it to get rid of yourself, right? Oh, but yeah, I think I've read everything I need to read about it. So I think I think the Democrats are actually making the right decision, and it's quite, I don't know, it probably will benefit them in the long run. And I wish they did this with Bill Clinton too, but what can you do?
Well, Bill Clinton was what was he, right into his second term when they did that? Was it his second term? Yeah, he was a year into his second term.
My question,
what do you think that the Democrats are going to come and say, Bill Clinton, you need to step down in the middle of your second term. We're going to hand it over to Al Gore now. We're going to carry this this scar on us that we know what happened to the Republican Party after Nixon. You see what I'm saying? There's a whole different level of
So what you're saying is morality has levels based upon political power.
I would say political actions. The parties give a shit about the people second. Give a shit about the people being their party officers in charge. Give a shit about they give a shit about the party first. The Democrats would not have thrown Clinton out of office when he's a year into his second term, when they saw what happened to Nixon and the Republicans after Nixon got drummed out.
Hey, look, I'm just giving it to you as I see it.
Ford got in, became the national punching bag. And then they turned it over to Carter. Carter, whether he was in on it, unfortunate or just weak, but the economy collapses. Note to you, Mr. Biden, the economy collapses, and that makes it so the Republicans get back in. But had the economy not collapsed under Carter, we would have had Democrats for at least the next four presidential terms. Easy, hands down.
Right. It still doesn't justify the behavior of Bill Clinton and his sexual predation.
Do I justify any of that with that scenario?
You're not justifying it to yourself, but you're trying to give justification to why the Democratic Party did what they did. I'm not giving justification
to him. I'm just stating fact. It's the frog and the scorpion.
Right. Okay.
That's all it is. This has been well known forever. Now, Jason says it's now officially the BABS. Is that Bureau of Alcohol and BS?
Babs. You're going to have to fill me in there, Jason, because I don't know.
I think he's talking about the DABC.
Did we say something about the DABC?
We did. Well, I did. I got a Q-tip if you need to borrow it.
Oh,
Maybe some ginkgo biloba.
Yeah, got to drink a few less blue moons here. Huh. I'm moonshining.
Yeah, what does BABS mean? If anyone out there knows. But anyway, so that's what we're going to talk about tonight. I still want to get a
Bureau of Alcohol Beverage Services. Yes. I remember hearing something about this. The DABC changed their name to Bureau of Alcohol Beverage Services so that they have a better image, so that you feel better, Jared, so that when they come in with their guns drawn because you're brewing beer the wrong way and giving it to the wrong people or maybe drinking it incorrectly, they'll help you with their services. Make you feel better.
Got to change their name. Change the name. We look bad. You know what Bolshevik means?
Something about the Balkans. No?
Majority. And Menshevik means minority.
What language?
It's Russian.
Do you speak Russian?
No, But Menshevik had the larger party, and Bolshevik was a minority. Socialism changes meanings of things. That's all I'm saying. It's the word police. You know, like politically correct comes out of communist Russia. The word, the phrase. The phrase they would use they would come up and say to someone, what you're saying is technically correct, but it's politically incorrect. And therefore, you know, we're going to send you to Siberia. But that was the saying. But yeah, that's what BABS means to me. It's just a form of socialism changing its name to a just perception. And that's it.
Yeah, down with the BABS. It doesn't sound as good as the DABC either.
Yeah. We should call it Fluffy Kitty Fairness League or something. I don't know.
So now that we're done talking about sexual harassment,
so
how about the head transplant story?
You want to do that?
I want to do that.
Dave is all in on this head transplant story.
Look, this is what I'm investing in for our future.
I know nothing about. Now I know the Russians in the 70s tried this with dogs, and they actually got one dog to live for like 35 minutes. Which is insane. But go ahead, read us a story. China's doing some stuff.
The world's first human head transplant has been carried out on a corpse in China, according to a controversial Italian doctor who said Friday that he and his team are now ready to perform the surgery on a living person. Dr. Sergio Canavero, chief of the Turin Advanced Neuromodulation Group. Tell me that doesn't sound like something out of RoboCop. Said the operation was carried out by a team led by Dr.
Xiaoping
Ren, who last year successfully grafted a head onto a monkey's body. The first human transplant on human cadavers has been done. A full head swap between brain-dead organ donors is the next stage. Now, before I go on, there was a Russian who had a disease, and his disease was debilitating his entire body, and his head was okay, though. And I remember this was back in maybe 2017, 2018. He volunteered to do this process in Russia.
How'd it pan out for him?
He backed out.
Oh, so he almost volunteered.
He almost volunteered.
A full head swap between brain-dead organ donors is the next stage, Canavero said in a press conference in Vienna. The Telegraph of the UK reported. And that is the final step for the former head transplant for a medical condition which is imminent. I have so many questions. One, are you taking a cadaver like a freshly dead person? Like they come in off a ambulance and you've got someone in there that's on life support, and then you're going to go through the process to remove both heads and then sew them back together, and then is there full function? Like the big question between head transplants are how do you connect the neurons down into the body through the spinal cord? Because that's
always been the $1 million question.
Yeah.
How do you connect nerve tissue?
You're thinking the little stuff, like, oh, how do we, do you just get dielectric grease and put it around the edges? What, but I mean, it's still the brain that tells the heart to pump and the lungs to breathe, let alone getting the arms and legs to function. So how do they connect those things?
Well, let's read on here. Canavero said the successful transplant by the surgeons at Harbin Medical University shows that his techniques for reconnecting the spine, nerves, and blood vessels to allow two bodies to live together will work. So he has a technique. He has a technique.
So
Although,
they've done it to a cadaver.
do cadavers repair themselves though?
They don't. Now, what I'm picturing, and this is not just to knock China, although China, go ahead and take it this way, is that there's going to be some volunteers from the Uyghur community for this.
Oh, I'm sure they're all excited.
They might use the, what is it, Fangui or whatever, that religious sect for it, but I'm thinking Uyghurs will be first.
Or whoever's just closest to the door.
They use that Fangui. You know, those are the ones, they weren't really stealing organs from the Uyghurs. They were stealing from this religious sect, because this religious sect leaves a completely clean life. They eat clean food and, nature and humana, whatever.
They eat hummus.
So they get a huge, they get a huge bonus for the selling of their organs, from my understanding.
No, they're healthier. They're more organic.
Yes.
They're more organic.
They're organic organs, cage-free organs, free range.
So, although Russian computer scientist Valery Spirindonov, who suffers from a muscle wasting disease, volunteered to become the first head transplant patient, the team has said the first recipient will likely be Chinese. How about that?
Well,
Because
Uyghurs are
the chance of a Chinese donor body will be much higher.
Well, yeah. Well, Uyghurs are Chinese.
Mhm.
First of all, you know how the Uyghurs ended up there?
I'm sure it wasn't a vacation offer.
It's kind of completely historic. You ever heard the story of that China built the first super ship that traveled across the Pacific, and they think it may have made it to the Americas?
The Chinese junks.
Well, by the loosest terms, you could call it a Chinese junk. This thing was huge. It was bigger than all three ships of Columbus combined. But the captain was a Uyghur. The Uyghurs got into China because when the Mongols first start building the Silk Road, and even before that, the best people to get to navigate anything was Bedouins. Because Bedouins navigated by the stars across the sea of sand. And so they got, not just China, Europeans did it. Everyone sought to get Bedouin navigators. And so that's how the Uyghurs got there. And now they're being well paid for their efforts of their ancestors.
Not only that, but they were also eunuchs. Did you know that?
Uyghurs are eunuchs?
No, the admirals of these junks that were in charge of the fleets.
Could have been. Well, the admiral, that big one was, but he was a eunuch because he started, if I remember, he started out as a purchased slave to a previous captain and then worked his way up. Gained notoriety as a ship captain for the emperor. But yeah, there's a little bit of knowledge that no one needs to know about for the day.
Well,
Let's see if I
anyway,
can
likely
rest in.
the next donor will be Chinese. Imagine that. Canavera.
I still want to see him do it. And if they completely, or if they can successfully complete this, that's the next step to building a bionic body or bionic human parts. I mean, this is a step past where I would think we'd try first, not with the head, but maybe a leg or an arm, where we can build a bionic arm that they can match into the nerves that exist so that you can have the full function of that back. We're talking hands and torsion movements and all that other stuff.
Speaking of all that head transplant stuff, my wife wants to know if you're coming over for dinner tonight.
No, probably not tonight.
Okay.
I have to make a visit.
So, anywho, this guy has carried out the surgery on rats and monkeys, said scientific
Have
papers.
they lived?
detailing the procedure on the corpse, as well as more details of the first live human transplant.
Okay, he keeps saying corpse. I want to know about, is there a living monkey out there that is a head on a different body? And then what kind of drugs they need to take forever and what kind of function?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure rejection would be a huge, big deal.
Like you got this big angry scar all around your neck. Look like the guy off of Highlander trying to get the quickening.
Looks like there's some turmoil here. He said a live operation would take place in China because his efforts to get backing for the project were dismissed by the medical communities in the United States and Europe, according to US Today. And he's quoted as saying,
Shocker.
"The Americans did not understand," Canavero said Friday as he discussed the... Scroll down. Oh, we got a picture. Oh, look at them all leaning in there. Canavero plans to secure the spinal cords of the donor and recipient with a diamond blade. Oh, I'm sorry. Sever, not secure. To protect the recipient's brain during the transfer, it will be cooled to a state of deep hypothermia, he said. He said Friday that his team has rehearsed this technique with human cadavers in China, but there are otherwise no known human trials, USA Today reported. At least, yeah, I don't know. In China, anything's possible, though, right? Most medical experts say the procedure is fraught with danger and profound biomedical ethical questions. Dr. James Giordano, a professor at Georgetown University Medical Center in Washington, told USA Today that not enough rigorous study has been conducted ahead of such a procedure.
I agree with him completely.
But can you think of the benefits?
Sure. Let's try out the nerve stuff on an arm. Let's make sure that we can connect nerves and those things on an arm, on a foot, on a hand, let's start out on a finger, just a simple finger, And then if we can successfully get those nerves connected, then let's move further and let's do the head last. Can we do that after we've figured out how to get nerves to connect the stuff? Because as far as I know, we don't know how to do it. Like you'll have guys that'll lose a finger and then they'll weld a toe in place of it. It's not like that toe has function. They have no feeling in that toe, none of that.
You can't blame a guy for trying.
No, I agree, but let's start. This is like starting the Boston Marathon, at the end. Well, that would be successful. Yeah. This is absolutely the opposite of starting it at the end.
I'm sure as a doctor in other countries, it's hard to get ahead.
This might work. And it might completely work. But there's a low chance of it. And if you take a leap this far and it kills someone, you can only do that in a communist country. You can't do that in a country where the person's, not this day and age.
Yeah. Like in a free country that there's consequences to that.
That is literally, whatever the percentage, in my mind, being not a medical professional and borderline retarded, IQ of 45, it sounds like a death sentence to me. Like a high percentage, like a 99.9%, you're going to die.
At least they're rehearsing it on corpses and monkeys.
Yeah, but that doesn't show you, can you connect the stuff? Yeah, I can take a shot of Gorilla Super Glue and glue the spinal cord together, but does it work? Does it function? Does it carry the same function? And then the next big question is, does your spinal cord and the tracks that it makes down the body match mine, to where if you look at it on a slice from the side, can you identify what goes where?
Well, keep in mind though, he's not going to be doing this on normal people in non-barbaric countries. He's going to be doing this. He's going to be doing this to people with degenerative diseases that they're going to die anyway.
You bet. And the guy he's going to do it to is more likely already a political prisoner that is not in with the political wants and desires of the state of China.
Well, you get the government you vote for. I mean, that's why I always tell people, pay attention to who you vote for.
Hold on.
If you vote for the wrong political
China.
party, you're going to end up as China.
We're talking about China. China didn't vote their way into that.
Yeah, I'm sure the people...
They had a whole civil war.
Okay, and how many people took Taiwan's side?
Oh, well,
there's an island of them, and the rest of them took China's side.
Let's lay a little bit of history out. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Nation of peasants gets invaded by Japan. Chairman Mao is the leader of the Red Army. And then you have the Nationalist Army led by, what the heck was his name? I knew it just yesterday. Anyways, the Nationalist Army goes to war against Japan. The Red Army kind of teams up with them once in a while, but most of the time hides out in the hills. So the Nationalist Army takes the brunt. They're the ones that takes the losses. World War II comes in. World War II happens. We go over there. We side with the Nationalist Army because they're the ones fighting Japan as we are. We fight alongside of them. And, things are going well. Red Army taking damn near no losses during World War II. The Nationalist Army is getting beat to hell. Although winning, still getting beat to hell. I mean, even winning battles cost lives. World War II ends. We back off. We're trying to, from what I'm understanding, we're trying to propose a peace in China. Let them live side by side. We're trying to let let it play out like if the Reds and the Whites became the Republicans and Democrats, as we were hoping Russia would do in the beginning. Well, the Reds are stronger because they didn't just get beat up in war. The U.S. just left and took away their heavy munitions from the Whites. We'll just call them the Whites. They were the Nationalist Army. And the Reds beat them, chased them off the mainland. They went to Taiwan and held it. And the Reds, just because they hadn't suffered the losses, were the larger and better equipped army because Russia didn't desert them. Russia beat the Nationalist Army.
Well, such is life, I suppose.
And then Mao said, "Oh, we don't want to be like Stalin. We got to do our own thing." And now Russia and China didn't get along after that.
It's not like there's a huge revolt going on in China though against what their government is.
There's a war going on not against the Communist Party. There was in Tiananmen Square in '88. Right now, the war is going on against the banks being locked down. That's why tanks are guarding banks in China right now, which is a better, much bigger, much more interesting story than this. The larger picture of China and what China's going to look like in the next 10 years. For anyone worried about China taking over the world, you probably don't need to.
Are you saying it's imploding on itself?
I think the one-child policy is biting them in the butt big time. They're going to be an upside-down pyramid. They're going to have a lot of retired, aged people with not enough working age people to support it.
Oh, that's an interesting theory.
It's not a theory. It's a fact.
Yeah.
We're bumping up against it, not to the same level, but we're bumping up against it now. Baby boomers are retiring, and us Gen Xers and then millennials and Gen Zers are going to have to carry the weight of people in retirement. When people go into retirement, capital gets pulled out of the markets because they've got to live on it. So that means not enough new stuff appears. And also, so it stifles innovation in that point. And then also you've got fewer people that have to support a large mass of people who no longer work because the Social Security system is at its basis a Ponzi scheme.
Well, look, this doctor here is going to fix all that, because what you can do is, as those old men age,
See this young buff 19-year-old
they'll
walk
cut
out
their
with this
heads
grizzled
off
old head
and
on.
put them on younger bodies, and they can keep working.
just
But America will be far behind, because we won't be cutting the heads off of our older people and putting them on younger bodies, because it's ethical, of ethics. So I don't know. I mean,
But yeah, China, there's only 2 countries on earth that's replaced themselves right now, and they're both in Africa. And that's only 2 of the 36 countries in Africa that are replacing themselves.
When you mean replace themselves, what does that exactly mean?
That they are having children at a replacement level.
Well, everybody's got to go somewhere, and you see all these immigrants coming to other countries. So, I mean, there's definitely people coming into the world. Our population is increasing.
Actually, no. Last year we had a population drop.
Did we?
Year before that we had a population drop. They're expecting that 3 years ago was the highest the human population will ever be.
In our lifetime, maybe. But you can't say that forever, Jared.
So what they're saying that's the highest that we're predicted to see.
They'll be like, oh, look, we can desalinate water more efficiently with this new energy process, and then all of a sudden you'll have a human boom.
Then again, if we have a collapse of technology and people go back to farms, then you'll see a population rise, but they don't think we'll see that. They think, the economists that study this think that we're going to see plummets in population from here for the foreseeable future.
Well, it is getting harder and harder to recruit in the military. If you haven't noticed, the sign-on bonuses are $100K now. I mean, that's got to tell you something about your population.
Christ, I didn't come close to make $100K 4 years in the military. But no, that's what they're looking at. They're looking at a population collapse.
Mhm.
And that's not just us. That's China.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
It's
China
France,
can
it's
afford it.
Germany, that's England. But sure, but can you afford a population collapse if that population collapse happens evenly across the ages to where you still have that upside down pyramid?
Who suffers in that? Is it
Everybody.
why?
Okay.
How does it make people suffer because our population is decreasing?
Oh, well, population decrease also makes people suffer. Do you think that we could suffer losing just a general 10% of the economy and expect all the things we have to work? Cell phones, internet, electricity, water, sewer, traffic.
Through automation, possibly. Because we are becoming a more automated
there's
society.
automation here, and then you still got to support that automation.
Right.
And so far, there is not a robot that can hang a power line. So far, there is not even a robot on the drawing boards that can hang a power line. See what I'm saying?
So what you're saying is there's an opportunity for someone
Remember
to
when-
invent a robot
you
that can
remember
hang a power line.
That odd time of the year when the power goes out?
No.
When the south side of Twilla loses its power because someone hits a power pole, or one gets blown over, or a falcon lands, arcs across 2 power lines, blows a transformer, falls to the ground on fire, and lights the ground on fire and the power pole burns down.
Mhm.
You know, I've actually witnessed that. That happens.
Oh yeah, I've seen that stuff too.
How many people show up to fix that? How many specialized people show up to fix that?
So what you're saying is that's something we should teach in school to people so that more people
what I'm
know how
saying
to
is
do
that
it, or
a sudden drop of 10% of the population
Mhm.
is disastrous.
But what do you mean by sudden? I mean, it's not sudden. It's generational.
Sure. Retirement.
I mean, okay, retired people.
Now, you know, the baby
They'll
boomers,
suffer.
you know, the baby boomers didn't just happen here. That was a whole world did that.
Mhm.
Everywhere did that.
Okay, but
China,
I'm still not sure how
Ghana,
you're saying we're going to
places-
suffer
places. Well, okay.
as
so
a population.
You have that many people that steps out of the economy at one
Mhm.
time, right? So that's that many. Take a percentage of that are specialized people that hang power lines, that know how to make your cell phone work, that know how to troubleshoot if there's a problem with your fiber optics for your internet,
Mhm.
that knows how to keep the power on, that knows how to make it so that when you flush the toilet, the poop leaves your house.
But
Okay,
you're not.
So
you're
you
not-
hold
okay,
on, you
go
pull
ahead.
that 10% out, right?
I'm listening.
You've still got the population.
Right.
So you've lost that wealth of knowledge on the baseline. Then the younger working groups, because remember, we're all living in this Ponzi scheme where you and I are paying for the retirement of the people who are retired. And the people behind us have to pay for our retirement. And the people behind them have to pay for their retirement
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, Ponzi gave the federal government a great idea. So now the people who are now working have to support that much more taxes to pay for the larger group that is retired. So your table now is standing only on 3 legs or maybe even 2. So that drives wealth out of them.
When you say the word have to, why? Why do they have to?
Well, because do you pay Social Security?
Yeah,
Why?
because I have to.
Bingo. You have to. Can you get out of it? Can you sign a waiver saying, I want to be released from Social Security debt and I will promise to not try to collect any?
If the population decrease forces our economy to be more optimal, it might not be a bad thing. Like I look at all these people in banks,
Sure.
and I'm like thinking, oh wow, wouldn't it be just more efficient to have just use Bitcoin, and those bankers could go be roofers or telephone pole
Yeah, sure.
uppers.
Any of those 80-pound tellers or 63-year-old tellers can go be roofers or linemen is what they're called.
Right. Because
When you walk into your bank, how many of the people working in there have even the physical capacity to be a lineman or a roofer?
I'm not going to underestimate the power of the human ability to adjust and compensate.
We're all going to take a hit, but you can argue with it and say
Lawyers, think about all the lawyers that could be replaced.
Bitcoin will save us. Bitcoin, all it would do is just change a wealth differential paradigm. It'd change the currency we use. It wouldn't change the fact that we're coming up on a physical reality.
And look, there's a lot of paperwork pushers that are so unnecessary in our economy.
You bet.
And those
So we should
those
get
people can
computers.
climb a power pole.
Sure, they can. Maybe,
They might not make as much money.
Actually, linemen make a lot of money.
Yeah, but lawyers make a lot of money.
Sure, linemen make a lot of money, but also, I would almost guarantee that less than 20% of lawyers could be a lineman. I would almost guarantee that less of that could be a roofer. Because on the last webpage we showed, it showed roofers, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were doing a roof. Maybe why you brought it up.
I heard there were women roofers, so I know this can happen.
There are women roofers. I'm sure there are. Do you know how much a bag of shingles weighs?
Yeah, but you want to know what? There's machines that can lift that up.
Sure there are. Sure there are. And those machines come with the higher cost of getting your roof done, which most people pay for a 1 or 2 man crew that hand carried up ladders because that cuts back on cost. So again, we can move them out and push them into a different economy. That doesn't change that everyone still has to pay for the people who are retired and, well, the flooding of the economy. I guess that's the old capitalism argument of Tom Shoes going to Africa, how the African cobblers are the people hurt by that. I guess we could flood the market with.
I just think you're being a nervous Nelly, Jared. I think the economy will do just fine. The economy can adjust if allowed to adjust. And
I think
it will adapt if allowed to adapt.
I think the U.S. economy will do better than any other.
Why?
Because of our geographical size and diversity and the wealth of our soil.
Explain the diversity part. What does that have to do with
geographical diversity?
Oh, I thought you were thinking like because one person's black, one person's
color
white.
Of people makes no difference.
Midgets and tall people.
Color of people makes no difference in this.
Mm-hmm.
None at all. Not a lick of difference.
Okay.
The only difference is in the diversity of our
geology,
geographical area.
Mm-hmm. And there's many countries with a lot of geology. But
not just geology, but the diversity of the geology. So Russia has a huge geography, right?
Right. Most of it's wasteland, right?
Most of it's under permafrost. Kind of shuts you out from doing certain things.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big hit on them, right? China has a large geography, same size as us. But their soil, on average, is pretty tore up.
Mm-hmm. And they're doing pretty good in the world economy.
They're the number one importer of food in the world.
So, that'll tell you something. They're going to always be trying to buy food, which is not bad for the world.
France is in a pretty good position, possibly Spain, but I think France will come out ahead in Europe, definitely ahead in the Iberian Peninsula. I think Africa is the place that's really going to do well because one, they have a substantial population who already lives below, third world living standards that, those guys may not even notice if it happens. Of course, those are also the countries that are replacing themselves. But all this stuff goes away. It all goes away when the needs of life demand other things.
Well, I think we're going to have a serious reevaluation on the value of our workforce, and the jobs that people perform in that event that our population decreases. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I could do with a few less lawyers and accountants and other type of paper pushers and more linemen. I'd like to see linemen be more valuable than lawyers. I'd like to see people who do the trades become more valuable than secretaries and whatnot, which for the most part, I think they already are. But, there's a lot of shift that needs to happen in the economy, and I don't foresee a comfortable population making uncomfortable shifts.
This one's an interesting one. I read this. This is not just with population collapse, but at MIT they built a supercomputer to calculate the world, and the supercomputer. I'm reading this off of medium.com. I don't know if it's a site for people who talk to ghosts, but the computer was made in the 70s, and it's called the World One program in 73, and it was to simulate global sustainability. Instead, it predicted the end of the world, in contrast to various other theories about the end of civilization and ultimately the world. The predictions made by the computer in the 70s have so far proven to be true on an alarming degree of accuracy. But yeah, just to go to that, population collapse is not going to be easy, and it's going to accelerate. The only thing that'll stop it is if people go back to an agrarian lifestyle, move back to farms. Our population stopped replacing, or started on a decline from replacing itself during the Industrial Revolution. The minute people started moving into cities, all that stuff. On farms, children are free labor, and so they have more of them. You don't see many people who live in a city have 10 kids, but you see that on farms even today all the time.
Kids today, they have a lot of playtime. In a more efficient, more stressed, more pressured society, those kids are actually being, they have to do more chores. Let's face it. So
would you consider that them moving into a more pressured society an advancement of civilization?
I think some degree of pressure is healthy.
Well, I agree, because then you don't have people screaming their pronouns all the time. I say it again. If wolves were eating people in the United States, no one would be screaming about say my right pronoun.
Yeah, if your life is trying to figure out pronouns and being offended by pronouns,
yeah,
maybe you don't even need to be here.
You're living a pretty, and I'm not arguing against it. I'm just saying an easy life allows for that. If life is hard, there's no time for that. But no, I would say you're taking a step back if you have to move back into child labor.
I don't know, because
where does safety go if you're moving to where you're pushing kids into the workforce? Do you think safety's still around? Do you think you still have safety officers?
Yeah, definitely.
Really? Because did they have them before? When children were working, did they have safety officers?
I bet you they did have some sort of a safety protocol or safety officer type.
Do you?
Position.
You think so? On the coal mines, you think they had safety officers?
Everybody's a safety officer, Jared.
So do you think when they're getting rid of lawyers, what do you think you'll do for a profession?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure I'll figure something out.
Do you think they'll keep you on as a safety officer? Do you think that if lawyers are being removed,
maybe it would be for the best if you don't have safety, right?
That safety officers still maintain their cushy position of pushing paperwork.
Oh, you think it's all paperwork? You know what? It's not exactly easy trying to inspect every single electrical cord on an installation, or ensuring every label is clearly identified on ladders.
I stand corrected. Is that chemical labeled properly?
Oh, you have no idea.
Did it not spill down the
struggle
side,
is
make
real.
the ink run? Yeah.
Have you been chastised for that before, Jared?
Have you been through your HAZWOPER? No, I've been a safety officer on small things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've put together it used to be called the US MSDS workbooks. I put those together. Now
they're now the SDSs.
Yeah,
right.
Now they're
because of the global harmonized system around the world, put together by paper pushers.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's the question. Population collapse.
I'll probably have to make chocolate.
See, now do you think there'll be chocolate in a population collapse where globalism has ended?
There will be chocolate no matter what.
Do you think they'll be bringing chocolate up here? No matter what.
Didn't they do it in the 1500s? And population was pretty pressured back then.
1500s?
Isn't that when?
I'm sure kings and queens might have tasted cocoa.
Oh, it was like gold back then.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably was like gold. It was probably not milk chocolate. It's probably all dark. It may have been made locally in Europe. Um, I do know that wars were fought over pepper. I don't know
Pepper.
about the 1500s, but I think in the 1400s, in the 1300s,
Spices.
pepper.
Cloves. Mm-hmm.
No, it was fought over pepper, black pepper. The East India Company arose to protect black pepper, making it to England.
I believe it.
Actually, it started making it to the Dutch and then to England, because the Dutch had the first East India Company and it failed. It collapsed with the Dutch. I think the Dutch tulip, when they inflated their currency for tulips. And then the Brits took it over, and the Brits subjugated China, bounding off that. But they subjugated India first for pepper.
Well, spices were once worth more than gold.
Well, that's why they called cents. Salt was essentially the original currency. But pepper had lots of uses. One, it made rotten meat taste good. But another is pepper keeps flies off your meat. So you could have a dry hang. Pepper does a semi-preserving of meat. Mm-hmm. Not quite brining it like salt will, but you can preserve it. You can drop meat in pepper, and it'll keep bacteria from taking the meat over. The meat will still decay. It just won't have the bacterial aiding of the decay.
And that helps move armies when you can preserve food. Yeah. And, yes, it will get a little harder if we have a 10% population decrease, but I think it'll just make us more efficient. I don't think we will stop being an advanced technological civilization. I think our species will continue to thrive. Eventually, we'll even make it to outer space. I bet you we'll have a colony somewhere on the moon and Mars in your kids' generation.
I'll believe that when I see flying cars.
Well, the only reason you don't have flying cars and drones delivering packages is because we have too many paper pushers.
Maybe.
I mean, if the paper pushers go away, you can have drones deliver your packages.
What if it's just a safety guy standing there that looks unsafe? Stop.
Oh, God. Those safety guys.
I remember on the 4th of July this year watching some kids' hearts break over you, not letting them light their own sparklers.
Yeah.
And I laughed my butt off.
That was my job. Hey, look, they can get their own jurisdiction for lighting sparklers, okay?
I don't know. Population collapse is population collapse affects everything. Everything, the production of food, the delivery of food, right now the Union or the railroads, but specifically the Union Pacific, they're bleeding people. They're set to go on strike. BNSF has been pretty draconian the last 2 years. They're gonna, in order to keep the UP people on, they're gonna have to put them in shackles soon. And we lose the railroad, we're done.
And it's not like they don't get paid pretty good.
They haven't had a raise in 3 years or 4 years.
No, I think they're making high 30s, low 40s on average.
Sure, but they work 12-hour days. They have safety requirements that make you look like a damn heathen. And BNSF, was it BNSF? I think it was BNSF. After COVID kicked off, laid off a whole bunch of people. Then the vaccines made them lay off some more. And so, they couldn't hire people. And instead of hiring people or figuring that out, they put them on a 28-day work month. Yeah, 2 days off a month.
It's crazy, huh?
Yeah. Something to look up. I mean, if you out there in listener land, not that we have many people listening today, look up the Union Pacific argument going on right now.
Well, I don't think the airlines is any different because I know they laid everybody off,
The airlines aren't
and now they need employees again.
sure, but the airlines aren't intrinsic to our economy. Not anywhere near what rail is. Not any. The airlines probably don't even touch the scale compared to what rail does.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're probably right.
I promise you. I'm
But
right.
when stuff needs to get from point A to point B quickly, I can guarantee you.
Oh yeah,
You'll feel it when the airlines ain't
I've
moving.
seen them all the time. They would overnight stuff from Germany to the salt plant all the time,
Mhm.
3 times a year, at the cost of $50,000 to $60,000. You know what they can't overnight on
What?
an aircraft? Something that weighs 80,000 pounds.
No, they can't.
They can't overnight enough rice or coal. You can overnight enough, or you can't overnight, but you can ship enough coal to keep the Delta plant running for 2 days in one car, probably.
Mhm.
You know, we're talking 100,000 pounds of coal.
And rail is an interesting animal because isn't most of it government subsidized?
All of it.
You think it could exist if it was privatized?
Probably be more efficient, better ran.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever dealt with rail, but go ask the guys at the yard there at the depot how it is dealing with the UP. Not the guys on the ground, just the UP in general.
Yeah. Yep.
I dealt with the UP for years. I ran rail in bulk, ran rail in package shipping, and they're kind of tough to deal with.
What's the hardest part about it? When you say tough to deal with, I mean, they don't beat you up. They just require paperwork or
No.
something.
Antiquated programs to get your stuff shipped or to get cars in, finding out what's going on with cars, just little things that a private market would have solved. Kind of hard to get a hold of, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a knock on anyone that works at UP. It's a knock on when you're subsidized and when you're handed a monopoly by the government, you don't have to perform.
Well, I will also say this though. There is a plethora of people outside of America who would love to come in and take our low-paying jobs right out from underneath us.
You bet.
And I bet you what, if that floodgates ever opened, whew, oh boy, what a hit we're going to take as individuals, but as society, as a whole economy, a world economy.
That might be the answer to inflation, or would it be? So let's say a whole bunch of Guatemalans, just going to throw a country out, move up here, get jobs being janitors. Not that our government would allow them to be legal janitors and be paid less than, citizen janitors, but they all get jobs as janitors. And then they peel off 50% of their income and send it back to Guatemala, where their family will live like royalty off of 50% of the income up here that lets them live in, squalor. How would that affect our
Well, Jared, I don't know
inflation
if
and
that's a true
recession?
statement in that case, though, because if we're opening the floodgates, the wages go down. I mean, you'd have to take away minimum wage, and
You
say-
think they would give up minimum wage? You think that's even on the table?
the only thing that makes minimum wage possible is a police force.
Yeah. So you think that if the floodgates opened, the government would relax? We could live a free and prosperous life?
I'm just saying, if you pressurize the system to the point, eventually it has to give.
Sure, but do you think that in light of us going into a recession, the government's not going to hire 87,000 IRS agents to come after the little guy who's going to be hit,
The fact that they were
to make
able,
sure that the government doesn't lose out on any of that income due to recession and higher interest rates coming upon us to slow down capital markets. You think the government's not going after that? Or even our city government isn't raising our taxes because they foresee in the next year home values are going to go down. So therefore the money they get goes down. They would rather run you over with a bulldozer than to quit paying the guy that runs the bulldozer who doesn't have a day-to-day job for the city.
like I said, pressure will do some interesting things.
I think when we see that, we're seeing a full-on government collapse.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
You're
think
right. You're right.
I'm going to buy me a Camaro then. And
But the fact that we can hire 87,000 IRS agents in one swipe of a pen, just shows you how prosperous we are as a
it
nation.
shows you how much they want to come after your money. You know what would show me?
Government loves you, Jared. It doesn't hate you.
It would show me government prosperity if they came out and said, we're going to lower taxes. Instead, they say, we promise this isn't going to affect anyone under $200,000 annual income. And then they hire 87,000 IRS agents.
And a dude in a wheelchair as an IRS agent. I like that one. Just think about that.
87.
We're able to give dudes in wheelchairs
They've more
guns.
than doubled the IRS agents. Did you know that?
Yeah.
More than doubled.
It's because we're so prosperous as people.
And from what I understand, it more than it more than 2/3 over what the IRS used to cost.
Yeah. Like I said, retention bonuses and recruitment bonuses, they're up. Your enlisted guys are making 50 to 100K enlistment bonuses right now.
Probably for certain jobs. I doubt they're giving that out to everyone.
Well, probably more like lawyers and administrative assistants. But
Well, for the enlisted, it'd be those with specialty skills
safety officers.
that they, Army safety officers. Yeah. But no, that's what, I think the government did that because they see we're fitting to hit a place where a lot of people are going to quit work and start doing their own thing. And they want to be able to go after everyone. They want to be able to shake you, to hold you by your heels and shake the change out of your pockets to make sure the government gets what they want.
And I don't think it's because the government wants your money as much as it just wants to pressure you into staying employed. I know the government doesn't want your money because they can print it if they really want money.
It's their money. That's the thing we got to remember. They want their money back. They just let us borrow it for a minute.
And look, and just keep in mind, if you read 200 pages of the tax code every day, you will be done with that thing in 10,000 years.
How
So
big is the tax code?
it's pretty big.
I would like to see it once.
I mean, ignorance of the law is no excuse, so I suggest you start reading, people.
Yeah. But remember, Republicans are evil.
I don't doubt it.
If Miss Doust is listening, remember, Republicans are evil because the Democrats have to hire 87,000 new people to make sure they shake you down for every dime.
And they are training with guns.
And you know what? Someone dug into that new tax law they put out that put those into it. This is how we fight inflation act. I guess it's not inflation if the government steals more of it back and it's not inflated into the economy. Well played. But they read into it and it lays out how they're going to apply these 87,000 agents. And it is against specifically people making less than $50,000 a year. Take the bulk of that.
What makes you think that they're going after the peons?
It lays it out in there when they read it. I'm not smart enough to read it. All I can do is listen to what other people say. Remember, everything that falls out of my head is from a drunk retard who listens to people and maybe sometimes kind of regurgitates.
Well, I'm sure all those IRS agents are lovely people.
I'm sure they are. I'm sure when they come to visit, they'll be very polite and cordial. And yeah, we're not going to fill this.
You know, there'll never be an active shooter incident in an IRS building, I bet.
I walked by the one in D.C., 6-7 years ago. I don't remember there was a threat. I went and saw D.C., walked around, checked the place out. And it was kind of across and down the street from the train station. I rode the train in there. And I just remember DC's fairly controlling on guns, but standing out in front of the IRS building was 4 wearing black, tactical uniforms carrying MP5s.
So if you want to sell products in DC and you want to be safe and you don't want to get stuck up by some criminal, you sell it by the IRS building.
And then above it was, I could see another 2, and I promised they were on a designated marksman role.
They weren't female roofers?
No, they weren't.
Oh, okay.
They were clad. I was like, holy cow. They were, yeah. And they were packing the select fire MP5s. I mean, not like,
the cheap crap.
No, they were packing the heavy.
Well, good. I wish they'd take our schools that seriously. But they just have our children in them.
Come on now. And you've got to remember, it's our children in them.
Yeah, not theirs. Ours.
Our children in them. Their money is in the Federal Reserve building. We get to borrow it once in a while. Isn't that the funny thing? We get to borrow money and we have to give some back that they charge us interest for to fill out a piece of paperwork that if we did it correctly, they pay us that money back that they did not. They don't pay us interest for money they overtook through the year. And then I see your annual thing. In communist countries, they have what's called a struggle session. And that's where you gather around in your community, whether it's a neighborhood or a union or a workplace, and you call each other out and call yourself out. That's how you stay good in a communist country, because they have no value on actual work. So it's not like you can be a good boy by, building the best whatever. I mean, let's remember Kalashnikov got awarded a watch for designing that timeless rifle. I see our tax time as an annual struggle session, just to portray your honesty to the government, unless you have your own personal business. Then you have to do it once a quarter. So you're punished for not being a part of a system that's automatic.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I mean, if anyone,
that's their choice as a people in our society.
If anyone wants
they could switch to Bitcoin.
It doesn't matter. You can switch to Bitcoin. They're still going to get it because you have to buy Bitcoin with something. You have to buy eventually.
You can work for it.
Eventually, dollars have to slip through your fingers unless we switch everything to Bitcoin. But the minute we do that, what'll happen?
They'll try to do something, but I just don't.
You don't
see how
think
they
they'd
could
be able
succeed.
to?
No.
You don't think they would be able to?
The only way they could do it is if they turn off the internet.
Okay.
But you still have to pay your police officers and all that stuff in cryptocurrency if you switch to that system.
So then the government would get involved with that.
You wouldn't be able to pay enough people fast enough to actually maintain what we are currently doing.
How much was it the FBI dumped on the market 4 years ago?
In Bitcoin?
Yeah, or 3 years ago. Do you remember that?
It was a lot. It was a lot of Bitcoins. But Bitcoin wasn't, like you could crack an exchange or a black market site and they'll have millions of Bitcoins back then. Now it's not like that.
They crashed it though. Do you think that was all the government had?
I don't think they could crash it with that small amount.
How much was it that they hit it with last time? 87 Bitcoin or something like that? Or no, it was 8,700 Bitcoin or something. It was a ridiculous amount. How many crimes? I mean, we talked to one guy on this show that had how much Bitcoin taken from him?
He had a coin with 100 Bitcoins on it
And he also had other
and
takes.
other stuff. Yeah.
So he had probably, let's guesstimate 12, right?
Mm.
He was small time. How about the Silk Road? How much do you think they got from that?
Millions back then.
And how many people have they busted with Bitcoin that they took control of that Bitcoin? And how much Bitcoin do you reckon the government may have bought?
Yeah. I don't think they'll have enough
And then
to
again,
run the machine that they currently run.
Let's say they go to the exchanges. If the government peeled off a penny on every dollar it spent wisely,
Mm-hmm.
they could buy all the Bitcoin in the world. But let's say that that the government just went after the major exchanges, right? Leaving us down to maybe Bitcoin that we already put on a separate wallet. So then they would have to do person-to-person crackdowns,
Mm-hmm.
crackdowns of sale, things like that. 87,000 IRS agents spread her out through the nation could watch an awful lot of stuff, you know? I mean, there's no reason why they couldn't say, hey, I want to dig into your household finances. I see you've got this amount of income, but when I contact the gas agency, you're bringing this much gas in. And then I contact the electric agency, you're bringing this much in. And then you also have this cell phone and internet, maybe cable.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that car out in your front yard. So we, looked at the VIN, tracked down where it came from, figured out how much you paid.
I just got a news blurb. U.S. small business owners
That's me.
face an acute labor shortage. That's not you.
I don't
Which
hire anyone.
experts warn is at a crisis level, which is what we were just talking about.
Mhm.
So, and to answer your question about the Bitcoin,
Have you heard of the lying down movement?
let's say the government has 50% of the Bitcoin. But if they cannot print their own Bitcoin, I just don't see them being able to uphold the machine that is our IRS, our federal government, our police force. I see them having to relax on a lot of regulations and really cut back and let people be, a little bit more loosely governed. But that's my opinion. I guess we both have differing opinions on that. And there's only one way to find out. And that's, if everyone just says, you know what, I'm going to accept Bitcoin for my services.
Sure. I'm going to accept Bitcoin. I'll accept Bitcoin.
Or Litecoin or Dogecoin. I mean, right now I'm thinking.
Have you heard of the lying flat movement?
No.
Dang ping.
Nah, I'm not too into the Chinese stuff.
Should be.
I probably should.
If you concern yourself with economies, you should be. Because this is where the next collapse is coming from. It's coming from China. It's going to hit the whole world. So in China, it's a combination of one-child policy, the crackdowns on Bitcoin that China had a year and a half ago, kind of the personal monopolies. It's been handed out to their the personal monopolies have been handed out as party favors. The big businesses in China.
The socialites,
Yeah.
the people with privilege.
Well, Chinese youth they're moving in the same way we are. They want a better quality of life out of this.
Why? I mean, they're Chinese, right?
So, China kicked off and they started making a kind of a 6-day work week. Like Foxconn went nationwide. It wasn't just Apple making Chinese people work crazy hours.
Wait, 6-day work week?
Yes.
Wow. Okay, so were they working
12-hour days.
7 days a week?
6 days, 12 hours a day, 6 days a week.
But they're going to cut down the 6 work week days.
The 6-day work week was what kind of got implemented throughout China.
Hmm.
And so young people have quit getting jobs. So it's called the lying flat movement, Tang Ping. And it's kind of been a big thing. It's a counterculture, much like what do they call? Japan has a counterculture where young men stay at home and play video games. Now, this changes the paradigm. I've often spoke about you don't want to have a population that has a large number of young fighting age men that aren't married, because then you have a population like polygamy often have this. You had a population that caused trouble. But the internet may have changed the human race, may have already changed us to a level to where these young men don't go out and seek war anymore. They stay at home, play video games, which gets testosterone exercised, and they also probably turn to online pornography that satiates the secondary needs of the man.
It's hard to find people to go out and kill for you when you're home playing video games and jerking off, is what you're saying.
Well, it's long been studied in psychology that polygamous populations commonly have the stretching at the seams of violence. And that'd be interesting to look into the early days of the Mormons here in Utah, what they had, which maybe you could argue, and it'd be something to look into, like the Meadows massacre, the massacres. There was quite a few Mormon massacres, honestly. The Mountain Meadows is one everyone knows about, but there was one up north, I think kind of by where Logan is now. One up in Idaho. But the interesting thing is how many of those men on that were young single men that didn't have options for a bride. But Islam has commonly been argued that a lot of the strife they have in their nations is because they have an abundance of young men who have no options for that future of getting married, calming down the testosterone, and turning their responsibilities towards family. Which is why you possibly see a lot of ISIS couldn't appear in the United States as it is. Right? Hard time to join a radical military cultish group if you have a wife. And
it's impossible
if you have a child.
It's impossible to almost do a podcast if you have a wife.
Right? But if you have a polygamous society where 10% of the men pill off 20% of the women, leaving 10% of the men on the other side with no options to find a woman, that's a 10% of the population that can be aimed at certain objectives. But
Weaponized.
But the internet may have changed that, because China's not having these problems. Now, maybe China doesn't have these problems because they have an overarching government that has cameras on every intersection. I mean, they have cameras that literally watch you every 100 feet down the freeway. They're watching for a specific thing, one thing. They don't care if you're speeding. Those aren't speeding cameras. They watch your car to make sure you're not masturbating and driving.
Huh? Where are you getting this from?
That I got from Top Gear.
Okay, so we're going to search the internet for Chinese motor vehicle accidents from drivers masturbating. Oh. And there it is.
Yeah.
Boy. Well,
but China's got huge surveillance. Huge surveillance. So that may be how they keep control. And again,
I'm just glad I'm not Chinese. Oh, God, that would be so stressful.
What about being in Taiwan, though?
Then
That'd probably be
you're-
even more
yeah.
stressful right now.
I mean, think about that.
I don't know.
Don't worry, Joe Biden will protect you.
Sure be nice to be able to do some math pretty quick.
Really?
Maybe be a doctor.
Really? You know how much stress doctors probably have to go under to.
That's another. I would like to do a show with the doctor to talk about how they feel the medical. That's the hard part. Would a doctor come on and talk about how they feel the medical industry has been doing the last 40 years?
Well, we just had Dr. Fleming on.
With the debt they collect going into it, the pressure that's on them, the regulatory boards that come after them. The only way to make an extra buck is to sign on with the pharmaceutical company and push this new statin.
And you got to get insurance, and
Yeah,
you got to pay for
wonder-
your college, and you got to maintain that license. I mean, that means you have to be politically correct.
Just seems insane, doesn't it?
Imagine if doctors didn't need that license. Would it really? I don't know. Maybe there's a better way. Maybe there's a better way that only a pressured society could actually.
I do agree with
conceive of.
doctors achieving some sort of license proving their equivalent in what they're doing. I don't know about a hairdresser, but a doctor or a bartender. Why does a bartender need to have a certificate?
Look, don't screw
that's
up
the
my
thing.
drink, bro.
That's the thing. A hairdresser, I think, even has more than a bartender needing for a certificate, because a hairdresser might take you 2 weeks to get your hair grown back. But a bartender, one, the cost of the drink, can't be at the most I've ever spent for a cocktail is what, $30? And that's an expensive cocktail. On average, $7. You're walking out the door with something that's floofy. And then it's gone by the next morning. So a hairdresser might have to live with it for 2 weeks. They pay a lot more than a drink for it, but why does a bartender need a certificate? And if you go in and you say, I want this, and they screw it up, you're out, 4 hours of your night and $10. Not just that, if they really screw it up, you're not even out 4 hours of your night because you're going to stay sober.
I don't know, Jared, because right now with the way our society's structured, I can't get a drink while I'm getting a haircut.
Ooh.
And you want to know what?
You just
in
came
my
up
world,
with
in my world, you can do that.
Hold on. How do you know you can't?
Because trust me, you can't, because of
there is no way that they
Bureau alcohol.
There is no
beverage
way that they
services.
could open up a salon in a bar, like go down to Corner Pocket.
No, Jared, it's not possible.
Really?
I'm telling you, physically, the physics just don't align with the government bureaucracy to build such a
That'd be
contraption.
something to check out, though.
Anywho, I'm telling you, my world is much better.
No, I agree with you.
In my world, you have to compete for citizens. You don't have to give them passports to contain them.
What do you want to go with, like the Heinlein thing?
The what?
Robert Heinlein,
Never met him.
Starship Troopers,
Oh, well, no.
service equals citizenship.
It ain't a bad idea for this kind of a world.
Like
But
you don't get a vote.
I don't even know if you'd need to vote. Like
Like you have to attain citizenship to vote, but you have to serve to be a citizen. So if we go with, say, anyone in the world can come here, they just can't vote on anything unless they gain citizenship.
what if nobody could vote on anything?
Then we're back to monarchy and back to whatever, unless you want to go with like a complete anarchy, which one day I want to do a show on that, because I went to Oregon and I wanted to talk to the Democrat about this tonight bad. So I went to Coos Bay, Oregon for my little vacation this summer. Beautiful place. Heavy purple area. Not quite Democrat. I'd say it leans Democrat, but not quite. It's on the ocean, so. But I have revised I'm still an anarchist at heart, but I've kind of revised my thought on it. And it's completely about the shopping cart test. I'm a shopping cart anarchist.
I know you judge people harshly on how they put their shopping carts away.
It's a simple thing.
I can't help, like, every time I have my shopping cart, I'm I'm like, oh gosh, I know it would piss Jared off.
It-
If I just leave it right
It's
here.
such a simple thing. It's the matter of taking responsibility into your own life.
Or you could look at it like I'm giving someone a job to clean up after me because I'm lazy.
Yeah, so I'm going to take up a parking spot, maybe leave a shopping cart to roll across giving a body man a job, because that shopping cart might cruise across a parking lot and hit someone else's car.
No, I'm giving someone an opportunity there to invent a button that would put brakes on the car.
Sure, causing more cost for the shopping cart, which causes more cost for the company or the store,
But more stability for social
the
structure.
business, and then a bag of rice will cost 7% more on average across the board, making it so your buck doesn't stretch as long. Cartnarks would have something to say about this.
Cartnarks. You can make Bitcoin, but for turning people into the Cartnark society.
I don't want to force people to put it away. That's the thing.
What if the cart put itself away?
That's the thing.
Come on,
But
if you push a button and the cart just
then
automatically,
I'll have to find something else to judge us on. But
your life would be over.
your
theory's broken.
I am personally an anarchist in my own life. And you see the phrase become ungovernable. Right? You've seen that phrase? And that is how you do it. Is you pass the shopping cart test. Becoming ungovernable doesn't mean governable. Doesn't mean that they can't tell you what to do. It means no one has to tell you what to do, because you've taken responsibility for your life on yourself. And that's what that means.
So someone needs to take responsibility, build a shopping cart that puts itself back into the rack.
There'll just have to be something else to judge on, because I think that is ultimately the best way to judge a populace. Is I pulled into the Walmart at Coos Bay, and
what'd you see?
Their Walmart is the same size as ours, same size, even smaller parking lot, I think, but it's not on the same kind of strip mall setup, but same size as ours. On ours, any given day, 4 shopping carts out of the corrals, right? And in theirs, 30, 40 shopping carts. Crackheads having shadow boxing fights walking down the road.
Where's this?
Coos Bay, Oregon. Like in the kind of not downtown, just the outskirts of we stayed on the outskirts by the ocean. And then there's downtown, and then there's that middle area where that's just meth head central. And
Pretty nasty, huh?
But see, the shopping cart, friends of Adam, Bartholomew, for me, the shopping cart test isn't that I want to make people put these away. The shopping cart test is a test. Are we ready to be self-governed? And that's it. I honestly don't want to make people put it away, because then we failed. We only succeed when everyone voluntarily puts a shopping cart in the corral.
Yeah, I like this idea of one guy in a control room with shopping
Sure,
carts.
sure, but
To me, that's a successful
that doesn't
society.
bring us towards a libertarian society.
It makes my life easier.
There, welcome to China.
I don't think China
You know what
makes
China
your life
has?
easier.
You know what China has? Let me show you how they're making it easier.
China has cameras that are specifically built to catch people masturbating in the car. We don't have that. And I don't see how that makes life easier for people. I mean, what if cars begin to drive themselves? Then who cares? Would they still care?
So in China, they've got a factory. I don't know if I want to play this, but they've got a factory. Watch it again on Top Gear. That seems to be one of my.
Oh, just play it, because I've never seen it, and you always talk about this.
Of course, when a city
But you gotta
gets
share it with
this
the
big,
audience.
this fast, there are many ways to make money. There's steel and glass and concrete.
And
But
granted,
one
this
man
is
thought,
5 or
"Hold
6 years old.
on, every one of the rooms in every one of those buildings is going to need a door." Genius.
I wonder if I'll get in
No
trouble for
brainer on the
this.
Dragon's Den, that's for sure. It was such a good idea, he now has a drive-through door factory.
Make life easier.
Security doors, front doors, interior doors, really fancy schmancy doors.
Ornate doors, bank vault door, car doors.
5 million of them last year. 5 million doors. Well, that's not very interesting, is it? Yes, but now I'm the richest man in the world.
If employees angel overtime, it is not devil when they get salary. Okay, he's not a brilliant writer, but what a maker of doors.
That is,
That's pretty cool.
that's the making life easier model. And I don't want that necessarily. I want my friends and neighbors not to seek out an easy life. I want to see them seek out a self-reliant life, a responsible life, a life where if their garbage gets knocked over and blows into my yard, they come and pick it up. And I hope that I try to do that for them, because I think that's how you have a peaceful society.
I think you have a peaceful society if we're not going to spend all of our budget on aircraft carriers and
Yep.
nuclear missiles.
I agree.
And then we'll be able to have machines that take care of the
That's
garbage.
kind of a peaceful global society, but
Ooh. We're going to have to wrap this
you're
up.
starting to get in trouble with the boss.
Yeah,
huh?
the boss is summoning me.
She's something. All right, we'll go through these last two. Remote control carts. I like the idea, but then I'll just have to find another metric to judge civilization on.
Well, you also use hand tools over battery tools, don't you?
It depends on my application. I use a lot of battery tools.
But just for the sake of using hand tools to spite the battery tool?
No,
Okay, just wondering.
no, you're mistaking me on the remote control cart thing. You're thinking I'm doing it for the sacrifice. It's not even that the carts are there that I judge it on. I judge it on is that there's a cost to pushing your cart back, but that cost is paid to society. It's a low cost, but the important part of it is there's no repercussion if you don't.
It's like the equivalent of sacrificing a chicken
No,
before
Not
to make
at
it
all.
rain.
not at all.
Okay.
The judge is that there's no cost if you don't. You'll never get fined for not putting it back. It's all personal responsibility. The only person that will ever get it after you for not putting it back is either another customer in there might yell at you, but you'll never pay a cost. It's that there's no cost for not taking that responsibility.
There will
That's
be
the-
cart shaming in Jared's world.
That's the only, well, no, and I don't even cart shame. No, it's just a simple passive judge on, is our society ready to govern itself? And Coos Bay, Oregon is not.
So Tooele is doing better than Coos Bay,
A
Oregon.
lot better.
Amen.
A lot better than Coos Bay.
I like to hear that. I like to hear that we're doing something right.
I would argue the Mormons are onto something by having a strict society. In Seattle, Trader Joe's is removing alcohol sales to prevent theft. Let's remove all shopping carts to eliminate the problem altogether. Then I'll just have to find another judge of personal character. See, you guys both misunderstand what I'm saying here.
What you're saying is if we had apps to deliver alcohol to our house, we wouldn't have to go shopping
Yeah.
for it.
What I'm saying is it's a simple societal benchmark. That's it. I don't want people to get in trouble for it. I don't want anyone to, I don't even want, if I see someone not put their cart back, I don't say anything to them.
Well, I won't
Because-
lie. I won't
because
lie.
I don't feel a world is ready for self-governance if you've got to remind them. I feel a world where they take it upon themselves, where that is their benchmark as a world ready for self-governance, ready for our next step in evolution. And they're not ready. So it's not about the carts being put back or not. It's about, is the person accepting his simple responsibility in life on himself without prompting?
And you have to have an average mean of that bulk society to meet that standard in order to have even something remotely close.
Honestly, I don't think they'd be ready until I see every shopping cart put back. And then, probably not even then, until I see everyone push their shopping cart all the way back in the store so we can do away with the dang corrals. That's where I'm at.
Well, I feel shame if I don't put my cart back now that I've done this show with Jared.
More importantly, do they have a drive-through shopping cart factory? They probably do. China is entering the market different.
Well,
We built our world prior to the internet. We built our means of shopping, and right now we're playing catch up. China built their coming into the economy after the internet. So that's interesting. But the thing that's holding them back is an insane government.
think about this, though. That whole door factory would not need to be built if they had a web page. They could just put the door right there, right?
Sure. They probably still have a web page, but of course, China's awful restrictive on their internet.
Yeah. Well, if they weren't, they could have an internet and people can.
They do have an internet, but they're restrictive on it. But maybe they find that if they have a showroom, because would you buy a door without seeing it right in front of you? Would you buy it off just a picture?
Me? Yeah, probably.
I wouldn't. Especially being a guy who puts doors in. But all right, we're going to cut you guys loose. Dave's got to get home. His boss is yelling upon him. He is going to get beat. His food is burnt. We'll see you guys next week. Sorry, the show was just us bullshitting.
It wasn't bad. We did good. I'm going to go put my shopping cart back now. Have a good night.
Good night.